Hello guys, welcome back. It's Logical as always, and there's two things I must say at the very start of this video. First one being is please watch this video through to its fullest because we are going to be covering an extreme amount of information, so we are. And for those who are new to this here, if you're wondering what information I'm talking about, basically it's in reference to the death battles Chosen Undead versus the Dragonborn. And I'm trying to keep a level head while doing this. So basically this is going to be the third of two videos that I've already made, and my plan is to make this the final nail in the coffin for this argument, so to speak. But other than that there, the reason for the delay on this video is simply due to the factor of I needed to do research on Dark Souls, and I done the research as I done my triple platinum playthrough, so it did basically Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and discovered a few very interesting little factors about that, so I did. But even at that there, in saying all of that there, the bulk of the research for Dark Souls was done by me, and the all of the research for the Dragonborn was done by another person in my community called Blades, or Blade. Blade basically went out of his way to gather up every single shred of evidence and information on the Dragonborn. Every single solitary piece. Now, what do I mean by that? There, I mean, as in, he sent me a document that is 200 pages plus of information. First one being he broke down the cosmology, the skills, the dragon shouts, racial abilities, equipment, artifacts, Daedric artifacts, armor, clothing, magic apparel, food and cooking, ingredients and potions, soul gems. He even added in the creation club. He also added in the space core and amiibo, and then also the vampire lord beast form, and then at the very end he has his conclusion. And the funny part is his conclusion is basically similar to a lot of other ones, a lot of other of my friends. Is basically the Dragonborn actually does not have a win condition against the Chosen Undead. So what Death Battle actually displayed in their fight was actually unfair. They really did cherry pick information and really blew things out of proportion in some ways as well. And that was just it. But we already knew this was going to be the case because Skyrim has a stronger fan base, and they wanted to please the Skyrim fans, which isn't a bad thing, but at least be a little bit more genuine with your answer. And then after that, there obviously I was talking to my friends and asked them what their opinions were, and a lot of them sort of said cop out, which I agreed with because the ending to that fight didn't really make much sense. So it didn't. Once I break down everything, not just everything, just everything about that fight. Once I break it down and see how Death Battle sort of messed up, you'll see why there's a problem. But in saying that there, in this video we are going to sort of break down everything and just sort of aim at where they cherry picked a lot of things and things they got there. We're just going to sort of work our way through the arguments, so we are. And the first place that we're going to start with statistically is the death battle results. So for the death battle results, they give the chosen undead greater survivability, resurrects upon death, too slow and weak, and a limited arsenal. Now, a point to add to the resurrects upon death part is the fact that eventually, because of the mechanics of Dark Souls, eventually a character will go hollow once they lose their purpose for living. So there's where that comes in. And then you have the Dragonborn, which is a far more powerful, much faster, mana regeneration, and can only die once. So it's an immortal versus a non-immortal character. It kind of makes it, even the argument itself kind of seems weird because you eventually know the immortal character is going to win. But again, I'm trying to not be as biased as I should be because I am a Dark Souls fan. But more than that, I want the argument to be a bit more clear. So I do. And the thing is, though, is the fact that Death Battle really muddied the water with the type of research that they done and the cherry picking that they done. Because whenever you look at everything that they say from a wider lens, the arguments start to fall apart. Now, to start off this entire sort of conversation that I'm going to have, because I already know I'm going to get flamed in the comments over the head of this video, but I released a short and it done nothing, so it is what it is. But no, I'm going to start off by how they scaled down the Chosen Undead and scaled up the Dragonborn. So they did, and well, a lot of people should already understand that yes, the Dragonborn is heavily overblown. So he is. Okay, so to start us off, what we're going to look at is how they scaled down the Chosen Undead. Now, a lot of people will probably be very curious to see how did they scale down the Chosen Undead? Well, they didn't just scale down the Chosen Undead; they also scaled down the First Flame. Now, the First Flame is basically, and for the sake of this argument, one very big battery. So it is. But the thing is, though, what a lot of people misrepresent with this is the fact that the First Flame is in the middle of sustaining a multiverse. So it is. Now, if you're wondering how this multiverse works, it's basically fractured time. There is timelines that sprawl off in every way, shape, and direction. So there is, and there is infinite of them because there are infinite versions of the Chosen Undead. It's just we obviously follow the one canon story, so we do. But no, long story short is the fact that the First Flame is maintaining this multiverse. And what makes it even scarier is the fact that even by the third game, whenever the First Flame is at its weakest, it is still maintaining this multiverse feat. Right? Now, what a lot of people seem to forget about the First Flame is there are two ways that you can kindle the First Flame. You can give it, because the Chosen, right, the best way to describe this here is because the Chosen Undead is the type of character, he doesn't have a particularly strong soul. It is just the way that the character is seen. As obviously you develop strength as you play through the game, and then obviously you link the First Flame, but you link it in full. So you do. So you give body and soul towards the First Flame. So you do. Whereas the Lords of Cinder only used their soul to fuel the First Flame. They didn't actually completely link to it. They only supplied their soul as power. So they did to curb whatever the First Flame was trying to do in their respective timelines, you could say. But the Chosen Undead managed to develop power equivalent to a god as he travelled, because the First Flame could literally shoot him up and spat him back out, but it didn't. But the First Flame also used his soul and him as a vessel. So he did, as he does become the Soul of Cinder in Dark Souls 3. And it is the Chosen Undead that does become the Soul of Cinder. And it's funny how they never actually brought that into the argument whenever they were talking about it. Is that, well, probably because, again, I probably was sling the cop out argument again, because the First Flame basically combines with the Chosen Undead to become the Soul of Cinder. But let's remove that argument completely out, so we will, because there's a different argument for a different day. We already know that they keep the biggest and baddest transformations for the very end. So they do. But the fact that they didn't include that, but then they didn't include that there probably because the Dragonborn doesn't have a second form. So that's probably why they didn't include that there. But at the same time, though, the fact that the Chosen Undead, imbued with the First Flame, basically becomes the Soul of Cinder, it kind of should be involved. Another thing that they severely downplayed with the Chosen Undead was the bosses. Now, I could focus on the core four, so we will to begin with. That being the Four Kings, Seath the Scaleless, the Bed of Chaos, as well as Nito. Now, of these four, Nito's the strongest, because Nito is legitimately death and disease. Simply being, because we're undead, we're actually immune to his miasma, funnily enough, because anything that's living, why do you think he's surrounded in everything that is dead? Basically, anything that has any form of central nervous system, we'll go with, is basically dead in the vicinity of Nito. After that, there you get the bed of chaos, which is basically life incarnate, as it gives birth to a whole new demon species. You have Seath, who through his research went mad and became a pseudo immortal, and then you had the four kings who were driven mad by their own humanity. Well, greed for humanity would be a better, more accurate way of saying it. But the thing is, though, is the fact that these four gods among men dominated, and they all have their own respective powers and abilities. As says once Izalith became the bed of chaos, she basically went on it. Wrote the chaos flame went on a rampage and was at full swing. So demons were running rampant. So they were. You have Nido, who is the legitimate personification of death. He is literally the Grim Reaper of the Dark Souls verse, because everything that is Nido related is death related. After that, there you have Seath the Scaleless, who first of all betrayed his own because he was born with no skills to make him naturally immortal, but in his research into information and knowledge, he ended up going insane. But he also discovered his own ability. He's discovered his own immortality that was nothing to do with the First Flame's immortality. So the fact that he managed to find a way to be immortal, even going mad in the process, is still a shocking tell of how powerful Seath actually is. But even if we were to downgrade from them, you have the likes of Artorias and Ornstein, Kieran, and Hawkeye Goth. By the way that they're described in lore and the power that they hold, they're considered demigods. And they're demigods for another reason as well, and that they're simply because each of them hold a shard of Gwyn's soul. So they do. Each of them hold a shard of Gwyn's soul, but at the exact same time, Seath the Scaleless and the Four Kings also hold shards of Gwyn's soul. So the fact that Gwyn was so powerful that he could divvy up his soul into other characters and make them extremely powerful is unheard of. Like, that kind of power distribution is not quite what a lot of people would think. But then let's look at the core argument here. There's two characters that carry particular significance, and that there being Ornstein and Kieran. These characters' main feats was basically their speed, and Artorias and Goth was their strength. Of the four knights, that was how it was balanced out, because Artorias could move as fast as lightning, whereas Kieran can move faster as the eye can track. And it says in lore that waves of gold is literally all they seen whenever Kieran moved. So the human eye can't track Kieran, and Ornstein moves faster than lightning, as he did take part in the dragon hunts with his spear. And then whenever it comes to strength, you have Hawkeye Goth, who is able to wield his bow, not just his bow, but also shoot dragons out of the air just by listening to them. And then you have Artorias, who is literally the shield of the group. You have the assassin, the archer, the spearman, and you have the shield. And he is the shield of the group. And up until Manus, which we will explain later, Ornstein's spear couldn't pierce Artorias' shield. Now, if people understand how this works, you'll see what I mean later on. But then, on top of all of that, there you have Gwyn and Manus. Gwyn, even in his weakest state, was still able to tend to the first flame. So he was able to link the first flame with a seventh of his soul left. Seventh, yes, of his soul left. And as Gwyn got weaker, Manus got stronger. Even in his madness, he was still able to spread the abyss far and wide. He was able to cultivate infinite amounts of humanity. He was able to spread his dark soul far and wide and through multiverses as well, because Manus himself is a time jumping anomaly. So he is present in all of Dark Souls, because he is the Dark Soul, he is the Furtive Pygmy, and simply due to the factor of the Chosen Undead being able to simply defeat Manus is enough said by itself. So it is. But the thing is, though, that there's me enough explaining about the Chosen Undead's situation in this argument. Let's talk about the Dragonborns. Right. So, for the Dragonborns, Blade, this is where you're going to come in handy. Let's jump over here. So, for the Dragonborn, they heavily overblew his feats. So they did. Now, a lot of people will always say that his main two feats are simply defeating Alduin and defeating Mirak. But let's take it piece by piece, shall we? We'll start with Mirak because Mirak seems to be the the nail that they keep hitting. It's like kicking a dead horse at this stage. It's like a broken record, more like it. But basically, Mirak was their key argument for this, for the power displayed by the Dragonborn. But this is where they cherry picked their information. And I knew this off of the top of my head, so I did just off the top of my head in general, so to speak, because I've played the last Dragonborn DLC and or the first Dragonborn DLC. I've played it, and so I have a general idea of how this works and how the argument goes. But the way that they described Mirak was so overblown. Basically, they described Mirak as being able to blast apart a continent. But the problem with that argument is, like, if you go and say, like, look at their research, they literally state it as fact. They see that as fact, as in it was Mirak and he done it all by himself. But that's not true. So let's take a look at what Blade says, right? Mirak is a dragon priest known as the first Dragonborn, whom the last Dragonborn defeated. Very true. They argue that Mirak had split a continent in half, implying that he did it by himself. This is false. An enemy dragon priest named Valok would fight Mirak as the first Dragonborn had rebelled, absorbing dragon souls. Mirak and Valok would fight each other for days. It is not stated how many specifically. The fight was so damaging that it separated a small part of Skyrim from the mainland continent, with the island later being known as present-day Solstheim. Mirak did not split an entire continent in half and did not do it alone either. So that means that you have to cut down Mirak's power by about 3/4, give or take, because there are three things that is taken away from his actual power here. So take everything that Death Battle said and more or less divide it by 3. Because he's more or less he has lost 3/4 of his overall power in this statement, so he has. First of all, it wasn't just Mirak that was fighting. Second of all, it wasn't the entire continent of Skyrim. And the third thing is, he did not do it instantly. So Mirak's power is actually significantly less than what Death Battle stated it to be. Which is obviously argument number 1. Argument number 2 is Alduin. Now, I had already brought this up to Blade, but Blade also just sort of went and backed up everything. My main argument for Alduin was simply due to the fact that Alduin just was not at full power. And this kind of backs it up. A mistake Death Battle made in their interpretation of Alduin and his role as the world leader is that he was supposedly going to eat the other planets in the sky too. This is correct, although doesn't state if he is able to do it all at once, which are also allegedly infinite planes. The issue here is the cosmology, which was written within Kirkbride's text, as the Elder Scrolls community has fan classified them. These texts are pieces of information made by Michael Kirkbride, who continued writing the lore for Elder Scrolls despite Bethesda never officially licensing the work. Additionally, Alduin never reached his full power, as he is stopped by the last Dragonborn in Nirn, and then a second time in the afterlife. So he never reached his full power. So why was Death Battle scaling the Dragonborn to Alduin at full power? So they nerfed Gwyn, but they buffed Alduin. They nerfed Manus, but buffed Mirak. Do you see where the problem is in this argument now? Is the fact that the feats alone are nothing to go off of. So they're not. So they really, really, really messed up in their argument here, so they did. Which is unfortunate. But in saying that there, that's why this video is being made. Now, before we get any further, there was two major gripes I had whenever whenever the Death Battle made their video. And that was their strength and speed feats. So it was. So as a result, they say that the Dragonborn is much more powerful and far faster than the Chosen Undead. But here's where the problem comes in. Is that statement actually true though? Because I went back and I found the strength and speed feats for both characters, so I did. And this is where the interesting part comes in, right? For the Chosen Undead, they chose his strength feat to be Smo's Hammer. Right? That sounds like an actual decent strength feat. Being able to lift that thing alone would be impressive. But the strength feat they chose for the Dragonborn is rather bizarre. Just because the Dragonborn can carry so many cheese wheels. Now, if everybody understands this argument, that is actually two strength feats, but for two separate categories entirely. Because you're not wielding the cheese, no, you're carrying the cheese. Whereas the Chosen Undead is wielding Smo's hammer and carrying it technically. But if you're going to put something on your back, there's a bit of it's a different strength stat basically. But this is where the interesting part comes in, because if we're going to use my logic first, and then we're going to use Death Battle's logic for this once we are, right? So let's go with the Smo's hammer feat. Well, the strength feat, so to speak, of actually being able to wield that hammer. What is the closest hammer? What is the heaviest hammer in Skyrim? Now, I do believe it is either a Curation Club hammer or the Dragonbone hammer. Which is heavier, I'm not 100% sure. But the problem is the fact that if you look at them in basic, the idea, if you were to look at them and wield them, which one comes out on top in terms of strength? Well, you can't go by the units that the game gives you because they're arbitrary. But if you took them out of their base materials, then it might make a bit more sense. But the problem is the fact that Smo's hammer is still regardless going to be heavier. So it is. Unless there's some magical metal that is the equivalent of tungsten in Skyrim. But whenever it comes to fantasy metals, it's normally a case of the stronger it is, the lighter it is. That's normally how it works. So it is. That's what happens whenever you have to deal with fantasy metals. It's normally lighter and stronger, whereas the crappy stuff is really heavy. So it is. But yes, that argument makes my logical argument makes sense, so it does, because you're actually comparing two weapons as the strength feat. Let's take Death Battle's cheese wheel logic now, right? So the Dragonborn can carry so many cheese wheels. But the Chosen Undead can carry infinite amounts of armor, infinite amount of weapons, 99 of every Titanite, and 99 of every item. And still have room to spare for arrows and bolts. And where's the argument there? So, just because he's able to carry an infinite amount of stuff, Does that make it fair? Well, I'm using your logic now, Death Bottle. So one can carry an infinite amount of gear, whereas the Dragonborn can only carry so many cheese wheels. Yeah, I can see why you cherry picked your information, so I do. Oh, but this one pissed me off. This one actually did get me riled up, and that is the speed feat. So the speed feat that they give for the Chosen Undead is dodging light. The speed feat they give for the Dragonborn was firing a specific arrow from a specific bow. So the Dragonborn actually doesn't have a speed feat. Technically in game, but they don't mention it. Technically in game, he does have two speed feats. The first speed feat being he can dodge lightning. The second speed feat is whirlwind sprint. But neither of them compared to the speed feat of his bow and arrow. But do you see where the problem is? Is the fact that he's firing a bow and arrow. So the Chosen Undead can dodge light, whereas the Dragonborn can dodge lightning, which is faster. Do you see where the issue is now? This is the problem. Is the fact that they cherry picked again their information for their speed feats. Yes, the bow can travel so much faster than the speed of light. I think it's like 250 times the speed of light. Still doesn't matter if it can't kill the Chosen Undead. And it's going to matter even less if the Chosen Undead decides to whack out a Great Shield. Do you see the issue? Are you starting to get the problematic points here? Is the fact that, again, the speed feat was nitpicked and cherry picked and made specifically to make the Dragonborn stronger, but whenever you actually look at the speed feats in a proper light, the Dragonborn is not only weaker, but also slower than the Chosen Undead. So yeah, let that sink in for a second. Now, guys, you can't even complain at me because I'm using your logic for this. Now, a big one that we spotted, and I only recently discovered, funnily enough, because I decided to go off on a wee nosy, so I did. They give the Chosen Undead a limited arsenal. Now, a lot of people will probably wonder, what do you mean by a limited arsenal? It's not because he doesn't have enough weapons, because both characters have plenty of weapons to pull from. But let's just put that to the test. If I'm correct in my saying this, the Dragonborn has access to 10 categories of weapons, that being daggers, swords, axes, maces, great hammers, great axes, and great swords, plus bows, crossbows, and staffs to cast magic with. I think that's about correct. And then it also has 5 classifications of magic, that being alteration, conjuration, destruction, restoration, and illusion, which brings us up to a whopping total of 15 possible things that he can pull from to fight with. Now, you could also add the Thum to that, which will increase it to 16. We'll classify it as a school of magic because it technically is magic. You're just shouting at people. So, 15. So, the Dragonborn's bound to have more than the Chosen Undead, doesn't he? He's bound to have more. Unfortunately, you're rather incorrect on that one, guys. The Chosen Undead has 19 weapons. 19 categories of weapons to pull from. Each of the weapons having a very high potential of putting down the Dragonborn. Because 19's a lot, and it's weapons that the Dragonborn wouldn't be commonly, well, used to fighting. On top of that, there you have to remember that the Chosen Undead is a weapons expert. You could classify the Dragonborn as a weapons expert as well, but your problem still stands here, guys, is the fact that 19 beats 10. So it really doesn't matter what the Dragonborn does. The Chosen Undead has more knowledge about weaponry than the Dragonborn does. But not just that there, it also has three categories of magic. That being pyromancies, miracles, and sorceries. Again, all that have the ability to kill the Dragonborn. They say a more limited arsenal. I disagree. But the thing is, what a lot of people do forget about this arsenal is designed to kill gods. So it is. Yes, the Dragonborn's technically a demigod. But regardless, though, the Chosen Undead's arsenal is designed for killing gods. If gods can't even stand against the Chosen Undead, then the Dragonborn is definitely not going to stand against the Chosen Undead at this rate. But I did find it very funny, though, whenever the Death Battle team was actually talking about the Chosen Undead's arsenal. Because they specifically left out a couple of very, very interesting parts. So they did. They left out a couple of very interesting weapons, is better said, actually. Because if they brought up these weapons, then they would have realized that, oh no, the Dragonborn was going to lose this fight simply due to the nature of the weapons. Now, obviously, people are going to be wondering and going, well, what weapons could they be? Well, you have the Dark Hand, which is a soul-ripping ability. The Chosen Undead has Priscilla's Dagger and the Life Hunt Scythe, which both have the ability to life hunt. So, if people don't actually know much about the lore, is there was a boss in the game called Priscilla, the Crossbreed. Now, in lore, it is deemed to be an abomination of Seath the Scaleless. But in short, she was born with the ability to life hunt. So she was. And she was that feared among the gods of her realm that she was banished to a painting, simply because her ability of life hunt could kill the gods. So the fact that the Chosen Undead both has access to both of those abilities says enough. But here's where the fun part of this comes in, because what a lot of people don't actually understand is the fact that the Life Hunt Scythe doesn't care. The Life Hunt Scythe really doesn't care. Because see, as you're killing your opponents, you're killing yourself. Do you know the only reason the Chosen Undead can wield that scythe is simply because he can't die? Wouldn't matter. One clean hit with the Life Hunt Scythe, Dragonborn goes bye-bye. Priscilla's Dagger might take a little bit more work, but the Life Hunt Scythe will kill the Dragonborn very damn easy. If I wanted to get into the more nitty gritty, you've got Quelaag's Fury Sword as well as the Chaos Blade, which are both weapons that basically are the most murderous weapons in the game. Well, the Chaos Blade would be the most murderous weapons in the game. Is the most murderous weapon in the game because it is literally just killing you as you're killing somebody else. After that, then you have the Quelaag Fury Sword, which is a blade born of chaos, which burns away the wielder's humanity as fuel for it. What major weapons is there? You've got the great swords of Artorias, both cursed and uncursed. The Abyss Great Sword. You've got Ornstein's Spear, which is able to pierce dragon scales. Now, guys, if you don't know the lore, sunlight spears were required to peel off the dragon scales. So the fact that Ornstein's able to pierce them with his spear says mountains of what that spear is actually capable of. So it is, which is what a lot of people sort of tend to sort of skirt by. This is all information that people tend to sort of skip over, because then you start to realize the real arrogance of your ways. Because as I explained to my friends that were Skyrim fans, is once you start explaining it to them, then they lose. So they do. So, like as it says, and the thing is there's obviously ways for the Chosen Undead and Dragonborn relatively to boost their stats, aka you have Power Within for the pyromancies, But the pyromancies don't just have power within, they have literal spells that hurl lava at people. And I'm pretty sure the Dragonborn can't swim in lava. After that, there you've also got the Black Flame, which is a burning spell that directly aims for your soul, or your humanity, so to speak, and directly aims for it. Like, that's scary enough by itself. But then, just to also add to it, there's also more than enough defensive capabilities within the pyromancies, like Flash Sweat and Iron Flesh. Flash Sweat could have very, like, that was the one thing that didn't enjoy, is they didn't incorporate any pyromancies in the fight, as far as I'm aware, which was fairly disappointing. So it was, but no, pyromancies alone, between power within, the fact that they didn't even display power within, because they said the Dragonborn was so much faster and so much stronger. Just use power within to go at 200% of your ability. Yes, you might die at the end of it, but you've killed the Dragonborn. But then you also got as a dragon aspect as well for the Dragonborn. But it doesn't really matter because the argument's already over at this stage. We've already declared that the Chosen Undead's faster, stronger, and has a much better arsenal for dealing with this fight than anybody seems to believe. But sure, let's continue on anyway because this is fun. After that, there you've got the miracles. You've got Sunlight Spear. It's basically a lightning spear with the force of a sun. And I'm pretty sure that, yeah, you're not surviving that. But as a fun fact towards your the Chosen Undead's durability is Gwyn does have the actual ability of basically forcing a sun inside your chest and blowing you up with it. I'm pretty sure the Dragonborn's not going to survive that. I think the best thing that the Dragonborn probably could survive is the giant slam. But a slam that sends you into the stratosphere versus a sun that would disintegrate you instantly. Well then, I don't think the Dragonborn surviving that all too well, to be honest. Other than that, there the Chosen Undead also has access to Vive Silence, probably the best thing that the Chosen Undead could use, as well as Tranquil Walk of Priest, which was never used, Karmic Justice, which was never used, Wrath of the Gods, which I think might have been used. I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not. But the faith, he also has access to healing thanks to faith, but he really doesn't need healing due to the fact that he has 99 divine blessings, as well as Estus as well. So he does have the ability to inherently heal. You see what I mean? The more and more you dig into it, the more and more the argument seems to fall apart for the Dragonborn. Like, don't get me wrong, the Dragonborn has very interesting weapons and gear, but the problem is there's so much fan lore surrounding them that it makes the fans believe more than what is actually true. Basically, they believe their own head canon rather than what is actually factual. I didn't even get into the sorceries. You have Soul Spear, which is the equivalent of Sunlight Spear in lore, and then you get the Crystal Soul Spear. So one direct hit. Basically, if Sun Spear is going to kill the Dragonborn on a direct hit, then more than certainly a Crystal Soul Spear is going to kill the Dragonborn on a direct hit as well. It's as simple as that, and the fact that they displayed that there and it only injured him is Bolshevik. Again, nitpicking information. So it is. You're being super nitpicky. Death Battle was super cherry picking the information to ensure that the Dragonborn won this fight. But back on to the Dragonborn's little arguments, because I've already read through Blades' entire argument, so I have. And whenever it came to the Daedric artifacts, I'll actually let Blade explain a lot of them. But for example, people says, "Oh, Mehrunes Razor," right? The actual lore information for Mehrunes Razor is basically sharp dagger that has the ability to instantly kill anybody it stabs. That's fair. Fan lore, however, basically says, "Oh, but Mehrunes Razor is able to cut through concepts itself." That's fan lore. That's headcanon, meaning it is not factual. This information is not backed up. So it isn't. So Mehrunes Razor is basically just another dagger. So it is. And the main weakness to a dagger to the Chosen Undead is you can be parried. So you can. Another one that a lot of people like to use is, use the skeleton key to unlock infinite knowledge. Again, Fan lore, guys. Keep your information straight, please. Because this is what happens. Skeleton Key does not have that effect. The Skeleton Key has the ability to, is basically an unbreakable lockpick that can open any lock, but not just that there, it is also the key to a well of luck. And that is literally it. It doesn't have any like godlike properties that allows you to become a god just by using it. So it doesn't. I'm pretty sure Nocturnal's already a god that has enough on her plate to have to deal with another god trying to use her fucking key to unlock godhood. It's not how it works. So it isn't. And that's strictly it. So whenever it comes to gear, the Chosen Undead is just better equipped to kill the Dragonborn than the Dragonborn is the Dragonborn is to kill the Chosen Undead. The main argument that was used for the Dragonborn was also Dawnbreaker, but there's no guarantee that it is there is no guarantee Dawnbreaker is ever going to be a guaranteed kill condition. On top of all of that, the Chosen Undead has a direct counter to that sword as well. Two direct counters actually. It's called Flash Sweat and Acid Surge. Like, bye bye Dawnbreaker, bye bye any chance of the Dragonborn even being able to kill the Chosen Undead at that stage. Anything else that I can think of is there's nothing. The Chosen Undead this is the reason why they cherry picked so much information, was simply because of this. Because once you start digging in more and more to the information, the less and less the Dragonborn actually has any chance of winning. Because whenever I made the first two videos, I gave the Dragonborn a good, I said 55% chance. And then, like, I even ate my own words, because whenever I actually dug in and done the research, like I said, it was going to be a close fight. And I would be happy if the Dragonborn won, as long as it wasn't a cop-out. As long as he had a way to get through the immortality. Wouldn't have bothered me. But the fact that they made it a cop-out bothered me, and that is why this happens. Because now that we have broken down just about everything that we can, there is nothing the Dragonborn can do. There is actually legitimately no way that the Dragonborn can do anything. And just to solve this argument is, let's take example, well, the Dragonborn used Fusroda to disperse the first flame. But the problem is bonfires still work in an Age of Dark. So it doesn't matter. If people want, but I want facts and evidence. Untended graves in Dark Souls 3, the bonfires still work, and it is even in lore signified to be an Age of Dark at that specific time, and there are functioning bonfires in that area. So not even using Fosroda to put out the first flame is even going to help. So again, your argument is futile. But for the shits and giggles, Blade, I'm going to refer back to your lovely little document here, so I am, because as it says, anything that has been Dragonborn related has come from your document, so it has. But let's go to your little segment here, because I seen it here. It's called Fan Arguments for the Last Dragonborn, right? Number 1, Aid from Hermes Mora. 2 is Become Ethereal. 3 is Bend Will, Dragon Rain, Drain Vitality. Kill the Bonfire, okay, I'm gonna have to read that one. Marked for Death. Mehrunes Razor, we've already covered. Sanguine's Rose, Soul Tear or Soul Trap. Staff of Shergorath, Summon Dunavir, Black Books, The Chosen Undead Gives Up. Yeah, good luck on that one. And the Wabbajack. Right, so let's start with that. I'm probably, like, a lot of these here are probably quite self-explanatory, but we'll pick out the key ones. Right, so Aid from Hermes Mora. It is argued that the last Dragonborn can go to Hermes Mora. Are you going to go to Hermes Mora in the middle of a fight? I don't think so. God of Knowledge and Fate in order to find a weakness towards the Chosen Undead. However, he is not from Mundus to begin with, so there is no possible way Hermes Mora could even know about him. Well, Hermes Mora is useless in this situation. Become Ethereal, which is first of all a dragon shout. So it is, but this actually turns into be problematic for them, does it not? It is argued that the Become Ethereal shout could be effective at stopping any damage that the Chosen Undead can inflict. However, the Chosen Undead has fought beings who are naturally intangible, specifically ghosts. That's true. The Chosen Undead has also fought Red Phantoms, which are also technically spirits. This also includes the humanity sprites found within the Abyss, as they are stated sentient hostile entities. In addition, the item Transcendent Curse can be used, making the cursed undead so heavily cursed that it is able to hit intangible beings. For context, the three words needed to become ethereal are Fade, Spirit, and Bind, which is not pronouncing that anytime soon in Elder Scrolls Dragon dialect. Basically, it's a theme that I can't say. Greatsword of Artorias could also be used to hit ghosts without the need for Transcendent Curse. So, Become Ethereal is basically useless. Bend Will, this is a good one. It is argued that the Bend Will Dragon Shout can be used to mind control the Chosen Undead. However, Bend Will does not work on undead, only staggers them. So, Bend Will is out the window as well. Dragon Rend. This is always a good one. It is argued that Dragon Rend can remove the immortality of the Chosen Undead, except Dragon Rend is meant for dragons and it does not remove their immortality. Rather, it forces them to think upon the concept, which is why dragons land when being affected by the dragon shout. Hence the word experience used in its description. Additionally, there are divine weapons in Dark Souls that stop reincarnation, which are also able to kill the Chosen Undead, yet he still resurrects. Yeah, well, that's problematic already. Drain Vitality, counteracted by 5 Silence. Kill the Bonfire, I think I've already bitched about this one, haven't I? Yeah, he's more or less saying the exact same thing, so he is. Basically, Bonfires still work. Oh wait, hang on, let me see, because there's a little bit here that I want to read out here. While this has been shown to be the win condition for the last Dragonborn, the first flame never truly dies. That's true. Instead, it is known to naturally recede into embers. Unlike the Elder Scrolls community's belief alongside general viewers, bonfires can still be active during an Age of Dark. Yes, because the Untended Graves still has active bonfires. So there's your answer to there. Marked for Death is basically cancelled by Vow's Silence. Meriton's Razor we've already bitched about because it actually doesn't have all of the fan lore behind it. Sanguine's Rose is argued that the dead artifact Sanguine's Rose is able to kill the Chosen Undead through summoning a Dremora, which is a type of Daedra. The Elder Scrolls community insists on the fact that the Dremora cannot truly be killed as their soul returns to oblivion, or it is argued that Daedra have no soul, which is incorrect. The Chosen Undead is from a different world and is also capable of absorbing any type of soul, meaning if he kills any form of Dremora, their soul will not be returning to oblivion. It will be absorbed by the Chosen Undead. As an option, Vive Silence can be used to cancel out Sanguine's Rose. Ouch! That is painful. Soul Tear and Soul Trap. It is argued that either Soul Tear or Soul Trap could be effective at killing the Chosen Undead, even though the former was shown to be effective during the 3D animated fight. The Chosen Undead can operate without any additional souls or humanity within themselves. Even if the Chosen Undead were to somehow not resurrect at the bonfire and end up in the Soul Cairn, the last Dragonborn would have made a mistake, since souls flow constantly within the Soul Cairn. The Chosen Undead can just stand around and absorb as much as he desires, strengthening himself, then return to fight the Dragonborn. So basically, you're screwing yourself at that point. Staff of Sheogorath Staff of Sheogorath can paralyze the Chosen Undead long enough for him to kill him. It doesn't make a difference because he still regenerates or still resurrects, and then also can be countered by Vive Silence as well. Summon Dunavir. Okay, right. It is argued that the Summon Dunavir Dragon Shout can be used so that a dragon can kill the Chosen Undead. While Dunavir is an undead dragon himself, there are already undead dragons within Dark Souls. True. Therefore, Dunavir is not unkillable, much like the Elder Scrolls community's enthusiasm. Dragon Slayer arrows could also be used to kill Dunavir, much like one was utilized to instantly kill Oda Odaving? Oh, I can't pronounce that. When he was summoned. This would also turn into a fight between two undead, meaning either one or the other person is going to die since both individuals are undead. Well, that's true as well, but eventually the soul is going to give out and Chosen Undead is going to take that win. Black books. It is argued that the books of knowledge. It is argued that the book. What? Hang on. It is argued that these books can have knowledge on the Chosen Undead. However, he is not from Mundus to begin with, so the black books cannot help. Additionally, they only give temporary powers, and only one of the 7 can be active. Ouch. Chosen Undead gives up. While it is true hollowed individuals lose themselves or die by other means, the Chosen Undead, as the main character, is the exception. They are not only one either, as there is evidence in the Dark Souls narrative that hollowed humans still retain their sanity. The Chosen Undead can die and hollow as much as it happens, and they do not lose themselves. And then obviously everybody knows the effect of the Wabbajack. And then obviously Dawnbreaker and Oriel's bow has already basically been covered. Basically, Oriel's bow is just a bow that can fire. Well, it is a bow with a specific arrow that can fire 250 times the speed of light, but that's not really going to make much of an overwhelming difference now, is it? Okay, so more or less in conclusion, the final conclusion is the fact that I don't mean to be mean, but between my research and Blade's research, as well as what I've said to what I've asked from my friends as well, basically we've all come up with the exact same conclusion of the Death Battle really does play favorites, but then that was always the case. I just wish they would have done a little bit better of a job. Like if you're gonna do scaling, do it properly. Just don't take fan just don't take who has the bigger fan base or something stupid like that there. Actually do the research properly. Like considering you like to make a giant spectacle out of these videos, I would just rather you just do it properly. Instead of catering to a specific fan base, just do it right. And then there'll be no arguments. Because look, even if your favorite character loses, fine. Just don't make it a cop out. Don't pull any bullshit shenanigans. You know what I mean? Like it's just the way that it happens. Don't pull any. Don't don't be misinformed and don't be disingenuous to the material. Basically. But yes, thanks to Blade for all of your help on that massive ass document. Thanks to my friends for adding in the extra conversation pieces, and thank you to Ultra for the extra their artwork for the short. It worked ever so perfectly, and I will be using that. You'll already know I'm using it in the thumbnail anyway. But yeah, thank you to mostly Blade and Ultra, and then thank you to my friends for the extra information. Ultra again, artwork's always good. Blade, your research was fucking impeccable. Let's see how much of a shit show this causes because I can't wait to see what people have to say. Because obviously somebody's obviously going to start an argument and they'll never reach the end of the video. They're just going to nitpick what I say and try to use it against me like Death Battle did to the Chosen Undead. So guys and Blade, fuel for the first flame, guys. And guys, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.